Oh man, I got a headache from listening to these podcasts. You know, there's all these podcasts talking about superheroes, and they're arguing over the new Superman movie. You got this group of people that are what they call Snyder Bros. They like the Zack Snyder vision, and they want him back to complete his arc. Then you got the Guntards, and then yes, I call them Guntards because they're really. I prefer the Snyder Bros over the Guntards because James Gunn, anybody who's a fan of James Gunn, there's something wrong with you because James Gunn is a perverted degenerate. If you're a fan of James Gunn, you're a desensitized degenerate. But that's beside the point. You got these Zack Snyder fans and these James Gunn fans arguing over who made the better Superman movie. And I'm going to put a stop to this nonsense. And this is the final. I'm going to give you the real opinion on the best Superman movie of those two and of all the Superman movies ever made. You might say, well, what qualifies you? Well, you see this collection here of all these statues, all these superhero statues. Get a shot of all these statues. Starting here, you see all the statues I got in my collection. Here's all the graphic novel books. And so I've been a lifelong fan of DC superheroes and Marvel. So that's what qualifies me. I know what I'm talking about. And the best superhero movie, yeah, it's a bit dated. You could say it's a little corny, but if you consider the time it was made, the impact it had, the first Superman movie from 1978 with Christopher Reeve. And there's no question, Christopher Reeve is the best on-screen Superman of them all. Of every single, even to this day. And I'm going to tell you why. Christopher, and also George Reeves, all right? Christopher Reeves and George Reeves, and they're not related, similar names, what a coincidence. But George Reeves, for the time in the 50s, the television Superman, now that became a children's show. But if you look at that first season with George Reeves' Superman TV series, the first season, very good, even holds up today, it's like film noir. He's a good Superman. He's the best television Superman. And George Reeves, Christopher Reeves? No, Christopher Reeve and George Reeves? No, George Reeves. Oh, I get the names. Which one has the S? Christopher Reeve and George Reeves. That's right. George Reeves has the S. Christopher Reeve is the best, on-screen movie Superman. The first one from 1978 and the second one, well, there's two versions of Superman 2. One directed by Richard Donner and one directed by Richard Lester. Oh, there you go. Two Reeveses and two Richards. Richard Donner and Richard Lester. Well, I guess. Anyway, the two Richard Donner movies, Superman 1 and 2, are probably the best. And the Richard Lester version of the Superman 2, I don't know if you know the story. Richard Donner was fired, then they hired Richard Lester. So there's two versions of Superman 2. They're both good because they have Christopher Reeve in them. And the Superman 1 and 2 are the best Superman movies ever made. To this day. Yeah, they're a bit dated. Everything dates. Yeah, a little corny, but still the best. And now they claim that the Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, is the highest grossing Superman movie. Well, yeah, because inflation, the ticket prices went up. But if you consider from 78, that Superman movie's probably the best selling, all-time highest grossing Superman movie, the Christopher Reeves ones. The Christopher Reeve ones. Because in those days, tickets for movies were much cheaper. So you got to take that into account. Now, the best modern-day Superman, I say yes, is Henry Cavill from Man of Steel. And David Cornswet wasn't bad. If he was directed by a better director than James Gunn, he'd probably be considered even better. But I would say the best modern-day Superman is Henry Cavill. But even those movies, they're all flawed. The Christopher Reeve could have done without Lois dying, and then he went back in time. That, was a little much. So they're all flawed. The Zack Snyders, there's a lot of flaws in those, particularly when Superman's father telling him not to save him, and Superman doesn't save him, and the father dies. I mean, what the hell is Zack thinking? And then, of course, James Gunn's got some stuff in there that really shouldn't be there. He kind of, Krypto! He kind of made Superman a little bit of a wuss. He's always getting his ass kicked. At one time, he gets kicked in the balls. Ow! What? This is Superman! You can't kick him in the balls. He's got balls of steel. That's James Gunn. He's a friggin' juvenile-minded moron. Guy's a real jerk-off. And I don't like what, and he's got, in Supergirl, you see in the trailer, Crypto pissing on a picture of Superman. James Gunn has no respect for Superman. All right? But David Cornsweet wasn't a bad Superman as far as the actor. But the director, got to get another director. Now he's doing Man of Tomorrow. I don't know what the hell he's going to do in that. Might have Superman making out with a guy. I mean, this fucking James Gunn. But anyway, yeah, Man of Steel, I think Henry Cavill is probably the best modern day. And, you know, as much as there was stuff in there I didn't like in the Zack Snyder movies, I would have liked to see Zack Snyder complete his arc, complete his vision, because he was leading somewhere, and he never got a chance to, you know, we'll never know. Who knows? Maybe they're saying, you know, he's going to come back, and I don't know about that, you know, at this point in time. But if he does, yeah, I would like to see him complete his vision, because he was going somewhere. It was kind of interesting. The more I watch his movies, the more I liked them. So, yeah, I would like to see Zack back. But, you know, either way, in my opinion, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies are the best. And between Man of Steel and the Superman 2025, I'm going to pick Man of Steel only because I like Zack Snyder as a director better than James Gunn. Oh, they were both far from perfect. There's flaws, really bad things in both the movies. You could say Zack Snyder's was a little too dark, and James Gunn's maybe a little too goofy, whatever. You know, he kind of emasculated Superman. But Henry Cavill was a very manly Superman. And like I said, we never got to see Zack Snyder complete his vision. And I wish we would have, and maybe we will. The Snyder Bros think we will, that they're trying to get him to come back and finish his, but who knows? I don't know about that. But anyway, that's my take. And don't forget the TV series, like I said, the first season, if you get a chance to see that on DVD or Blu-ray. That first season of the 50s TV show is very good. It still holds up. And like I said, the two Christopher Reeve movies, 1 and 2, well, there's 2 versions of 2. Those are my best picks for Superman. Now, as far as Batman, you can see I'm a big Batman fan. I got a lot of the Batman costume here that I wear every Halloween. The biggest statue is the Superman one here. You know, let's face it, he's the father of all the superheroes, grandfather or whatever you want to call him. He was the first. Well, actually, there was this guy here, the Phantom. See this guy in purple? He was actually the first superhero. He came out and he was created in 1936. Superman was 1938. So really, the first superhero, mass crime fighter, whatever you want to call him, was the Phantom. I mean, Superman is really the all-around superhero with superpowers. But my favorite is Batman. And you see, I got mostly all the Batman statues here. I got Batman statues here in the front, Batman statues here, mostly Batman. And I got some here. Take a shot of this. This is my Batman collection here. So you can see I'm a big Batman fan. So now I'm going to just give you my favorite Batman movie of all the Batman movies. It has to be Batman 1989. Now I'll tell you why. Well, there's the one in the 60s with Adam West. It was a TV series. They also made a movie. And that movie's very good. But it's, camp. It's not really Batman. It's not the serious Batman we all Batman fans want. But that's the Adam West Batman. That's its own entity. And that movie's very good. It's very funny, and, it's got all the villains in it. It really a good movie. The Batman, I think it was made in 66 or 67 they made the TV series, and in between the season 1 and 2, they made this movie to help sell the series more overseas, and it's very good. But the best Batman movie is 1989 with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Now, the Christopher Nolan ones were very good, the trilogy, and I like the new one, what's his name? Matt Reeves. I like the new Batman with Robert Pattinson as Batman. But the best one is Batman 89 because it's the most comic book one. It's, for its time, very realistic and dark. But since then, they're making them darker and darker. But that one at least was kind of comic book-like. And, these are comic book characters. So I would say, yeah, that has to be the best Batman movie. The Tim Burton Batman 89 with Michael Keaton. Batman Returns was more of a Tim Burton movie than a Batman movie, but it's still good. And like I said, I like the Christopher Nolan ones. Well, the trilogy, I like the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns, what's it called? Dark Knight Rises. Not as much. And I don't like the Bane character, that villain, as much. And that movie wasn't as good. But it was going to be different had Heath Ledger lived. They were going to have the Joker in that one too. So he died, unfortunately. So they went a different direction, and it's just not as good. But the first two, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, especially with Heath Ledger as the Joker, that's great. But it's very dark. It's not comic booky, not comic book like at all. Very realistic, which is good. I like that. But like I said, the Batman '89 was kind of realistic and still comic book like. So it had the combination of the two. And the Christopher Nolan was more grounded, more realistic. And now the new one, the Matt Reeves, the Batman, is really dark, really grounded, and he's trying to make it as realistic as possible. So that's not comic book at all. And again, I like those realistic Batman movies, but I have to say, because it is a comic book character, that the Batman '89 is probably the best Batman movie, because it's still, it's dark, it's realistic, but it's still very comic book-like as well. So there you go. That's why that's my choice for the Batman movie. And there you go. That's the final say. Don't argue with me. I know what I'm talking about. Peace.